Professor Dumbledore once said, music, a magic beyond all we do here. Yes, I believe music is magical. Well, at least this is how I would describe music before I started studying music therapy and knew that how music could affect the brain. And in today's video, I want to take you through my truly magical journey of becoming a music therapist from an accountant. Why I did it, how I did it, and my emotional roller coaster journey behind the scenes and some lessons that I learned. In many occasions, I felt like I was Harry in the wizarding world, but like an overgrown kid, of course. And this is my story. Seven years ago, I graduated with a commerce degree in Sydney, not knowing what I really want to do with life. I went on to pursue CPA, but I wasn't happy. I was constantly feeling dissatisfied, like something's missing. Yeah, that's the famous quarter-life crisis, I guess. Over the years, I kept changing jobs, thinking it was time to quit accounting, but then I got COVID and went back to the industry again. After I got my CPA, I relocated back to Hong Kong, and let me read you this journal entry on the 15th of October 2018 so that you can understand my struggle better. Happy Monday, cause I got the day off. So basically I just came back from a short trip to Taiwan, and I said I needed to reset, wind down and start my routine again, like my skincare, my workout and my morning routines. I'm tired physically and mentally, though travel was a thing supposed to relax. I am finding motivation and inspiration again since I'm always lacking those. I don't have a list of videos I want to film, my mind is always blank. I know it takes a bit of practice to increase creativity, but at the same time, I need a plan. Besides the age thing I mentioned a couple of days ago, I am also aware of the fact that I rely on concrete 3 to 5 years future plans before I start doing something. Like I planned out this YouTube channel thing a long time ago before I actually upload my first video in March this year. I don't think many YouTubers out there have plans nowadays, and I don't think they know where they will be in 5 years' time. And I don't even know will YouTube still be a thing a couple of years later. But they still rely on it as a source of income. So what am I doing? Why do I always hesitate? I know that my goal is to be a slash or be employed for making music 24/7. Whatever it is, I just want to quit working as an accountant 9 to 6, Monday to Friday. So I started working on YouTube channel, covering songs with my handpan. Progress is slow. I occasionally get good comments, but I know it requires so much effort and patience. So now every day I'm struggling. Wow, I actually don't remember writing that, but at that time I started this YouTube channel to start posting handpan covers, and I did my creative work after work in the weekends. I really wanted to quit accounting and make music, but coming from like a typical Asian background, you know how absurd it sounds. And then something happened. A huge protest broke out in Hong Kong in 2019, and that changed the trajectory of my life. I reckon I had no more time to waste. My life was more than just being stuck in a cubicle punching figures that I don't give a damn about. And over the years, I lost 2 friends to suicide. I've always wanted to work in a field that helps young people with their mental health, and accounting just wasn't it, obviously. Well, you can argue that I could work in NGOs in that industry, but I reckon I still wouldn't get satisfaction from work. And I wanted to witness change, like at the front line level. Basically, I knew what I didn't want, but I still didn't know what I wanted, until the moment when I was in the war zone. However, we are actually in a constant battle in our head. There are invisible wars going on in people's minds, depression, anxiety, and more. How many people are fighting every day just for a peace of mind? I wanted to help people feel better, preferably using music, something I'm passionate about and good at. Shortly after that, someone told me about music therapy, and I was hooked. I didn't know there was such a profession. It sounds like the perfect job for me. So I started doing research. I reckon in order to become a certified music therapist, you have to get a master's degree. And more importantly, you need a relevant bachelor degree. And this is when I faced my first obstacle. I didn't have any music, child education, psychology, social science, whatever degree. All I had was a decent grade in classical piano, being the fact that I started learning piano when I was 5. But I desperately wanted to become a music therapist as soon as possible, and nothing could stop me. I reckon some uni might still let me in as long as I passed the audition. So that was mid-July 2019, and after doing some research, I decided to try the 2 universities in Australia because most unis in the UK and the US started in September and I wouldn't make it. And I've already been living in Australia in the past 7 years, so I needed to not worry about settling. So I channeled my Asian power. I'm just kidding. It took me 2 months to rebuild my long-lost, super rusty piano skills and to start learning guitar. Not to mention my demanding day job and my poor physical and mental health amid the social unrest. It was the most hectic period of my life. I could still remember the lack of sleep, the depressed mood, and pressure, like a rubber band constantly being pulled. I persisted and filmed a 30-minute video for audition. And then I got rejected by the uni I wanted to go to the most. I was disappointed, and at the same time there was a tiny voice in my head that says, "See, I know you wouldn't make it. You didn't study music and your guitar skills suck." But I was determined. I left myself with no plan B. I truly believe that it was my calling to be a music therapist, and there was 1 uni left in Australia, and I applied. I got the chance for audition. As incompetent and unprepared I felt, I went for it. Oh, by the way, I played Baby Shark on guitar during my audition, and my lecturer stopped me just after we start singing the mom verse, and then they sent me the offer. No kidding, I was the happiest person on earth that day. Yeah, it was like finally getting the letter for Hogwarts. But here's the catch. I felt like a muggle born. No, in fact, I felt more like a squib when I attended my first lecture. When I sat in the lecture room, I felt so inadequate. Almost everyone graduated with a Bachelor of Music, music performance, jazz performance, music education, whatever. And here I was with a CPA certificate and limited musical experience. And I wasn't even good at numbers either. I might be able to calculate profit and loss, but I couldn't even count the triplets properly. Imposter syndrome was real. But then my lecturer said something on our first day that I'm going to remember for the rest of my life. She said, "All of you sitting here were chosen from audition for a reason. Keep going, keep working hard, and you will be fine." And that kind of gave me a boost of confidence. I'm like, yeah, I'm the chosen one.
But I am the chosen one.
Of course, you can say that I might be actually more talented given that I got in despite not having a relevant degree, but I didn't feel like that. And let's see what Harry has to say when people thought he was a hero and almighty.
It all sounds great when you say it like that, but the truth is most of that was just luck. I didn't know what I was doing half the time. I nearly always had help.
This is exactly what imposter syndrome feels like. I'm going to make another video on this topic one day, probably using more Harry Potter references, but the truth is, imposter syndrome will always be there in every stage of your life. In fact, if you feel too easy and comfortable in a certain situation, you should rethink your position and start expanding your comfort zone. So that's just the beginning of the journey. My 2 years of master degree studies haven't been a smooth one. The pandemic hit when the first semester began in March 2020 and Sydney went into lockdown. We transitioned into online classes. That lasted until the end of semester 2. We had a happy semester 3 on campus, seeing our classmates and lecturers and having face-to-face lessons every week. But just like some kind of song structure, we finished the last semester online, just like how we started the first one. Missing out campus life was definitely the not so fun part in this journey. I left my hometown only to stay at home for most of the time in the next 2 years. But don't get me wrong, I still learned a lot and I was grateful for being able to graduate on time. The pandemic didn't stop me from pursuing my dream. The fun part is, I actually did all my placements in person. It was such a huge blessing amid the pandemic. Clinics, hospital, going to Brisbane, and community centre. I couldn't have asked for more. I've grown as a person, as a professional, and as a musician. Now I look back, I'm so proud of my achievements. My past self would never have believed that I could find and combine my passion with my profession. If you're still watching, I want to tell you that it's not too late. There isn't much under our control these days, but if a pandemic didn't stop me from moving countries and going after the life I want, I believe that you can eliminate all the other excuses and start making the change too. If you don't know what you want to do, that's okay. I was once like that. Keep trying things out. Soon enough, especially when you enter the workforce, you will know what you don't like. But there is a huge gap between knowing what you don't like and knowing what you do like. My advice is pay attention to your feelings. In my case, I reckon I'm always drawn to young people. I get particularly upset if I see bad news about young people and justice. Maybe that's animals, environment, or renewable energy for you. Be more self-aware. Then think about what you're good at and see how you can play to your strength in the field that you care about. If you already know what you want to do, please take the first step today. Make no more excuse. Don't be like me, only to realize how short my time is in this world when I was in the war zone. It won't be a smooth journey. There will always be problems and things you don't like. For example, I still don't enjoy Elvis's music or Disney songs, but I'm willing to overcome that slight discomfort and keep going. I enjoy solving problems in sessions much more than doing a profit and loss statement. To me, music therapy is a worthwhile struggle. So, find something that you can contribute to, and find a field where you enjoy solving problems. You will thrive. If you enjoyed watching this video, please also check out my other personal development videos I created to help you live a more fulfilling life. Don't forget to share this video with people whom you think might benefit from. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.